A kingdom can disappear without its name disappearing. Look at a map of Africa. It feels complete. Clean borders, familiar names, everything exactly where it should be. But almost every line you see is hiding something. A kingdom divided, a royal title turned into a country, a people separated by borders they never chose. And sometimes even the capital of an old world disappears from the map. Congo, Angola, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Namibia. Names that feel permanent until you discover what they once meant. But behind many of them are older political worlds, rulers who governed, capitals that commanded trade, and communities that named themselves. Congo was once a powerful kingdom with its own capital, rulers, and diplomacy. Today, its name is carried by two different countries. Great Zimbabwe gave a modern nation its name. Angola still carries the echo of Ngola, a royal title from the Kingdom of Ndongo. So what happens when a kingdom becomes a border? What happens when the name survives, but the world behind it is broken apart? Congo, Great Zimbabwe, Malawi, Mutapa, Luba, Rozvi. These were not empty spaces waiting to become countries. They were living political worlds. The map did not erase them completely. It only taught us to stop seeing them. Before we talk about countries, we need to talk about power. Long before colonial governments arrived with rulers, ink, and paper, this region already had systems of authority. Power moved through royal courts and councils, while trade crossed rivers, forests, savannas, and stone cities. Communities were connected by language, ancestry, law, spiritual traditions, and long-held memory. In Central Africa, one kingdom rose into a major regional power, Congo. Its rulers governed through provinces and local authorities. From the capital of Mbanza Kongo, they managed trade, received messengers, negotiated with neighboring states, and built an organized political system long before Europeans arrived. Farther inland, the Luba and Lunda developed powerful traditions of kingship and sacred authority. Their influence traveled through alliances, migration, trade, and political ideas that spread across Central Africa. And farther south stood one of the most unforgettable places in African history, Great Zimbabwe. Massive stone walls rose from the landscape without mortar. They marked the center of a wealthy state connected to gold trade, cattle wealth, regional commerce, and political authority. Think about that for a moment. Before European officials ever called this land territory, people here had already built capitals, negotiated power, created trade networks, and understood exactly who they were. The map did not create this history. It arrived after it. But one kingdom shows more clearly than any other what was lost when the map changed. Congo. Today, the word Congo appears on the map as two countries, the Republic of the Congo and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But centuries before either country existed, Congo was the name of a major kingdom. Its territory stretched across areas that now belong to Angola, both Congos and neighboring regions. From Mbanza Kongo, royal authority moved through provincial rulers, tribute, ceremony, messengers, and diplomacy. This was not a loose collection of villages. It was a kingdom with a king, a capital, regional leadership, and its own political order. Then Portuguese ships reached the region in the late 15th century. At first, the relationship involved trade, Christian missions, letters, and diplomacy. Congo was not simply watching outsiders arrive. Its rulers were making decisions, negotiating relationships, and trying to protect their kingdom in a changing world. But that relationship did not remain equal. As the Atlantic slave trade expanded, outside demand for enslaved people began pulling Congo into a destructive system. Conflict deepened as local rivalries became entangled with foreign interests. Communities suffered and royal authority weakened. And over time, the kingdom that had once held together a vast region was divided, reduced, and overshadowed by colonial rule. That is what makes the name Congo so powerful. It survived. But survival is not the same as preservation. The word remained on the map while the political world it once described was broken apart. 2 modern countries now carry that name, yet it once described a single kingdom with its own capital, rulers, diplomatic relationships, and vision of power. And Congo was not the only name transformed this way. The next one became the name of an entire modern nation. Angola carries an older echo inside its name. The name comes from Ngola, a title used by rulers of the Kingdom of Ndongo. Over time, Portuguese usage reshaped that title into Angola, attaching it first to a colony and later to the modern nation. A royal title became a country name, but the meaning changed. Ndongo was not simply an earlier version of Angola. It was a kingdom with its own rulers, alliances, conflicts, and political identity. Angola inherited the sound of Ngola, but not the political world that once gave the title its meaning. Congo still carries the echo of Congo. And Zimbabwe carries the memory of one of the greatest stone cities ever built in Africa. Few places tell this story more clearly than Zimbabwe. Before the modern country existed, Great Zimbabwe stood at the center of a powerful regional civilization. Its stone enclosures were built by African hands. Its society was connected to cattle wealth, gold trade, regional commerce, political authority, and long-distance exchange. After its decline, political life did not disappear. New states emerged. Mutapa grew north and east of Great Zimbabwe. Later, the Rozvi became another important power in the region. This was not one isolated civilization rising and falling in silence. It was a changing political landscape, one state influencing another, trade routes shifting, rulers adapting, and new centers of authority emerging. Then British colonial rule gave the territory another name, Rhodesia, named for successful roads and tied directly to imperial power. But when the country became independent, it chose a different name, Zimbabwe. That choice mattered, because it was more than a new word on a flag. It was a refusal to let colonial rule have the final word. Zimbabwe reached back to a stone-built African civilization and said, "Our history did not begin with Rhodesia. Our past was already here." The modern nation could not restore the old kingdom exactly as it was, but it could recover the memory. Zimbabwe was not alone. Across southern Africa, modern names still carry fragments of older political worlds. Not every modern name carries the same kind of memory. Zambia takes its name from the Zambezi River, while Botswana recalls the Tswana people. Lesotho reflects Basotho identity, and Eswatini remains closely tied to the Swazi people, their language, and their kingdom. Namibia takes its name from the Namib Desert, while Malawi preserves an echo of Moravi. Their origins differ, but each name sits above older communities, political traditions, and ideas of belonging. This is where the modern map can be misleading. A single country name can make a land appear to have one complete story, even when it contains many older communities, kingdoms, and memories of home. Colonial rule then pressed those layered histories into fixed borders. Colonial rule did not create Africa's history, but it profoundly reshaped the continent's political map. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, European governments negotiated borders in distant capitals and imposed them on lands already shaped by kingdoms, trade routes, languages, and family connections. A border could divide one community between two colonies. It could interrupt an old trading region. It could separate people who shared ancestry, language, and history. And it could reduce powerful states into districts on someone else's map. Colonial administrations preferred categories they could measure and control: fixed territories, official languages, census labels, centralized capitals, and borders. But the land itself was rarely that simple. Older systems of authority were weakened, reshaped, or used as tools of colonial control. Some kingdoms were pushed aside. Others were kept alive only when they served colonial administration. That is why many modern borders can feel ancient, even though they are relatively recent. They were repeated in schools, printed in offices, drawn in textbooks, and stamped onto official documents until they began to feel permanent. Until eventually, people forgot that older worlds once existed beneath them. But those worlds did not disappear completely. They remained in language, oral tradition, royal customs, ceremonies, family names, and the memories people carried forward. When colonial rule weakened, people across southern and central Africa fought for independence. Flags changed, new governments formed, and political power began returning to African hands. For many people, independence was more than a change in law. It was dignity, possibility, and the right to imagine a future shaped by their own societies. And sometimes it meant changing names. Rhodesia became Zimbabwe. Swaziland officially adopted the name Eswatini in 2018. These changes mattered because they pushed back against colonial language and restored connections to African history. But independence did not redraw the continent into its older political worlds. Most colonial borders remained. New states inherited lines that sometimes divided connected communities and placed many different peoples inside a single national frame. Changing those borders could have created even more conflict. So the borders stayed. That does not make modern nations less real. These modern nations are real, shaped by their own struggles, cultures, political lives, and shared experiences. But those identities exist alongside older ones. A person can be proudly Congolese and still carry the memory of Congo. Proudly Angolan and still recognize the echo of Ngola. Proudly Zimbabwean and still look toward great Zimbabwe. History is not replaced. It becomes layered. The modern map tells us where countries stand today, but not everything that stood there before. Before Zambia, there were older centers of power. Before Angola, there was Ndongo and the title of Ngola. Before Zimbabwe, there was Great Zimbabwe, Mutapa, and Rozvi. Before the two Congos, there was Congo. Before colonial borders, this region already had states, rulers, trade routes, sacred centers, law, diplomacy, and political memory. So the next time you look at a map of Southern and Central Africa, do not only see the borders, look beneath them. Because behind every modern name may be an older world. It may be a kingdom, a people, a river, a sacred place, or a royal title, a memory that survived even after the map changed. And perhaps that is the real lesson. The borders may be modern, but the history beneath them is much older. Because before these lands were divided by others, they already had names of their own.